When my second wife died, her billionaire boss called me and said, "Grayson, I found something in Marlowe's safe. Get to my estate immediately." Then he added, "Don't tell Cameron or that woman he married. Your life depends on it." My name is Grayson Thornhill, and I'm 72 years old. I spent 40 years managing logistics in a warehouse, and before that, I carried a rifle through Vietnam. I know danger when I see it, but I never saw the threat living under my own roof. St. Michael's Church was packed Tuesday morning. 30 years of Marlowe's work at the Winthrop estate had earned respect. To me, she was just Marlowe. Terrible coffee, perfect cornbread, steady hands through my nightmares. 25 years married, my second chance after I left my first wife Rebecca when Cameron was 20. That choice haunted me every day. I sat in the front pew staring at the mahogany casket. The doctors called it a heart attack. Natural causes. But Marlowe had been managing her condition for years. She was careful. Something felt wrong. The oak doors banged open, heads turned. I smelled expensive perfume mixed with stale cigarettes before I heard the heels clicking on stone. Cameron slid in beside me 40 minutes late. My son. 48 years old, wearing a cream suit better suited for a nightclub. He didn't touch my shoulder. He pulled out his phone and started texting, leg bouncing, sweat on his forehead despite the AC. This wasn't grief. This was fear. Sienna squeezed in next, my daughter-in-law. Oversized sunglasses indoors, dressed too tight for a funeral. She fanned herself with the program. "This place is like an oven." I gripped my cane until my knuckles turned white. At the repast, I watched them. My hearing aids were tuned high. Most people thought I was deaf. I heard everything. "I can't believe we have to eat this garbage," Sienna hissed. "Where did all her money go?" "She spent it on pills," Cameron muttered. "At least that expense is gone now. $500 a month back in our pockets." My wife had been in the ground less than an hour. They were celebrating the savings. The room cleared. Cameron walked over. He didn't ask how I was holding up. "Dad, where's the key to Marlowe's safe?" I looked up slowly. "What?" "The safe key. We need to check life insurance paperwork. We're entitled to 50% as next of kin." Sienna crossed her arms. "Funerals are expensive. We know Marlowe hoarded cash. Don't make this difficult." I stood up, all 6'2" of me. "Your stepmother isn't even cold yet." "It's about asset management," Cameron snapped. "You don't know finances. You just worked in a warehouse. We're trying to help." "Help? You're trying to scavenge." Cameron stepped close, eyes wild. "Listen, old man, I'm in trouble. Real trouble. If I don't find that money by the end of the week, things will get very bad. Now give me the damn key or I'll tear this house apart." He reached for my pocket. I slapped his hand away. "Get out of my face." "You're senile," Sienna shrieked. "We should have you committed." Cameron leaned to my ear. "You have until tonight. If I don't have that key, I'm calling Adult Protective Services. I'll sell this house out from under you." They stormed out. I stood alone. My son was desperate. I'd seen that look before. He wasn't just greedy. He was terrified. My phone buzzed. Alistair Winthrop, the billionaire who hadn't left his estate in 5 years. "Grayson." His voice was jagged, breathless. "I found something in Marlowe's safe, a journal, a recording, evidence." "Evidence of what?" "You need to come now. Service entrance. Don't go home. Don't tell Cameron. If they know what I know, you won't survive the night." "What are you talking about?" Winthrop's voice dropped to a whisper. "They didn't wait for her to die, Grayson. They helped her along." The room spun. I grabbed a chair. "Come now. I have someone here you need to meet. Someone who's been watching your son for 2 months." The line went dead. I walked to my 1990 Ford pickup in a daze. In the glove box, wrapped in an oily rag, was my old service pistol. I checked the chamber. loaded. I wasn't just a widower anymore. I was a soldier entering enemy territory, and my son was the target. I drove to Highland Park, where the rich lived. The iron gates of the Winthrop estate swung open silently. My rusted truck looked like a stain against the pristine landscaping. The front door opened before I knocked. Alistair Winthrop sat in his wheelchair, 80 years old, body withered, but eyes sharp as broken glass. He looked at me like a man about to go into battle. "I'm sorry about Marlo," he said. "She was the finest woman I ever knew." "Thank you, sir. Come inside. We don't have much time." He led me past marble floors and empty rooms to his private study. Heavy curtains blocked the sun. We weren't alone. A tall man in a trench coat stood by the fireplace, scarred face, hard eyes. "Grayson, this is Dashiell Cross. He's a private investigator. Marlo hired him 2 months ago." My heart skipped. Marlo hired a PI? Why? "Sit down," Winthrop said. I sat in the leather chair, feeling like I was in an electric chair. Winthrop placed items on his desk, a small black leather journal, Marlo's prayer journal, and a thick envelope of photographs. "I found this in Marlo's safe. She had her own combination. After she passed, I had to look." He pushed the journal toward me. "Open it. Read the last entry." My hands shook. The leather was warm. I opened to the bookmark. The handwriting was hers, but the ink was shaky. "Cameron asked for money again. I told him no. He looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize. He looked at me like he hated me. I found pills in his jacket pocket today. They look just like my heart medication, but they aren't. I'm scared, Grayson. I'm scared of our son." I stopped reading. The room tilted. I couldn't breathe. Cross spoke up, his voice gravelly. "Look at the photos, Mr. Thornhill." I reached for the envelope with numb fingers. Dozens of photos spilled onto the desk. Grainy, taken with a long-range lens, but clear enough. Cameron standing in an alley, handing cash to a man with neck tattoos. Cameron and Sienna in a car. Sienna laughing, holding champagne. But the last photo made me freeze. Taken through our kitchen window. Timestamp 2:17 a.m. 3 nights before Marlo died. Cameron was at the kitchen counter holding 2 orange prescription bottles. One was Marlo's heart medication, the other, unlabeled. He was pouring pills from one bottle into the other. He was smiling. I stared at the image. My son. The boy I taught to throw a baseball. He was switching the pills. "He killed her," I whispered. Winthrop leaned forward. "He didn't just kill her, Grayson. He executed her, and now he's coming for you. Why would he do this?" "Turn the page." I turned it. Pasted in the book was a bank statement. The balance made my breath stop. $1.85 million. My Marlo, the housekeeper who clipped coupons, was a millionaire, and Cameron knew. I stood up. The chair fell backward. "I'm going to kill him." I reached for my pistol. "I'm going to put a bullet in his head." "No," Winthrop shouted. "If you kill him now, you go to prison and he wins. Sienna spends that money while you rot in a cell." Cross stepped forward. "We don't have enough for a conviction yet. The photos show him touching pills, but not what was in them. We need more. We need a confession." Winthrop's eyes were cold. "You have to go back there. Walk into that house and look at the man who killed your wife and smile. Play the grieving, confused old man. Let them think they've won. When they're comfortable, they'll make mistakes." He leaned forward. "Can you do that, Grayson? Can you look the murderer in the eye and pretend you don't know?" I looked at the journal, at the photos. I thought about Marlo's fear in those final days. I was a soldier once. I knew how to follow orders. I knew how to wait for the kill shot. "I'll do it," I said. "Good. Here's the plan." I drove back home. The steering wheel felt like ice. Winthrop told me to play the victim. Be the senile old man Cameron thought I was. I pulled into the driveway. The front door was ajar. I stepped into the foyer. A tearing sound hit me first, wet and sharp. In the living room, Sienna was on her knees with a box cutter, slashing Marlowe's favorite sofa open, ripping out stuffing in white handfuls. "Where is it? Where's the cash?" she muttered. The floor was littered with shattered knickknacks and pulled-out drawers. Then I heard it from down the hall. A high-pitched mechanical whine. A drill. The master bedroom. I walked down the hallway. Pictures were crooked. Our wedding photo lay on the floor, glass cracked over Marlowe's face. I pushed open the bedroom door. Cameron was drenched in sweat, pressing a power drill against the wall safe. The painting of the Last Supper was thrown in the corner. Marlowe's clothes were trampled on the floor. He was grunting, face twisted in greed. The drill bit screeched against metal. Smoke rose from the friction. I needed his attention. I let my cane fall. It clattered loud as a gunshot. Cameron jumped. The drill slipped, gouging the wall. He spun around, wild-eyed, then recognized me. He dropped the drill, pointed a shaking finger at the safe. "It's empty. There's nothing in here but dust. Where is it? Where's the money?" I stared at him, mouth hanging open, leaning against the doorframe like my heart was failing. He kicked the bed frame. "Don't look at me like that. You knew, didn't you? You and her were always hiding things from me." Cameron marched across the room. He grabbed my jacket and shoved me against the doorframe. His breath reeked of stale alcohol and fear. He picked up the power drill again, revved it once, held the spinning bit inches from my face. "Tell me where the old bitch hid the money, or I swear to God I'll drill the answer out of your skull." The drill bit spun near my nose, a gray blur of violence. My heart hammered, but I weaponized it. I let my eyelids flutter. I clutched my shirt over my heart. I forced a ragged, wheezing gasp from my lungs. My knees buckled. I slid down the doorframe and hit the floor hard. I curled up, groaning, clawing at the carpet. It wasn't entirely acting. The stress had spiked my blood pressure dangerously. Cameron stepped back. The drill wound down. His expression shifted from aggression to panic. Not worried about losing his father, worried about losing the combination. Sienna appeared, hair wild, dress covered in white feathers. "Don't let him die," she screeched, grabbing Cameron's arm. "If he dies now, we lose everything. He's the only one who knows where the assets are." Cameron cursed and dropped the drill. He knelt, grabbed my collar, shook me violently. "Wake up, old man. You don't get to die yet." He slapped me hard across the face. I kept my eyes half closed, breathing shallow. I needed to give them a number, big enough to blind them, big enough to keep me alive. I licked my lips. The trust. Cameron froze. "What trust?" I wheezed. "Trust fund. Marlowe set it up. 1.8 million, the lawyer. He comes next week." I let my head fall back. Cameron looked up at Sienna. A slow, greedy smile spread across his face. 1.8 million, he whispered. The number hung in the air like a spell. Enough to pay off his debts. Enough to save his life from Marco. He grabbed me under the arms and threw me onto the bed. "We keep him alive," Sienna said, pacing. "Until next week. Until the lawyer comes and we get him to sign." Cameron reached into my pocket. He pulled out my smartphone, the one Marlowe bought me. "You won't be needing this. You need rest, Dad. Lots of rest." He pocketed it, cutting off my lifeline. He backed out, eyes never leaving mine. Sienna followed. The door slammed. The deadbolt clicked. I was a prisoner in my own house. I lay still, listening to them whisper about millions, planning a future they'd never see. They thought they'd taken my phone. They didn't know about the loose floorboard under the bed, or what was hidden beneath it. 2 days passed in that stifling room. The sun crawled across the floorboards, marking time. I sat in the armchair watching the world go on without me. Twice a day, the lock clicked. Sienna slid a plastic plate across the floor with her foot like feeding a dog. Sandwiches with moldy bread, lukewarm water in dirty glasses. "Eat up, old man," she'd sneer. "We're cutting costs until the trust fund clears." I picked off the mold. I ate. Soldiers don't starve out of pride. I did push-ups against the wall when they slept. I paced to keep blood flowing. I wasn't just surviving. I was preparing. Night fell heavy. I pressed my ear against the door. The old house carried sound through ventilation ducts like telephone wires. Heavy footsteps paced in the living room. Back and forth. A trapped animal. Then a cell phone rang. Cameron answered immediately. His voice was low, but desperation made it carry. "Please listen to me, Marco. I have the money coming. It's a trust fund. No, don't send anyone to the house. I swear on my life I'll have it." Silence. Long and terrifying. Then Cameron again, voice cracking. "365,000 is a lot to move in 2 days. Just give me a week. Please, Marco. The IRS is already on me. Don't break my legs." A sob. A grown man crying to a gangster. I understood then. It wasn't just greed. It was survival. He'd gambled away money he didn't have. He owed the IRS $165,000. He'd blown $95,000 on his second divorce. He was dead in 3 days if he didn't pay. And I was his collateral. I slid down the door. My son was a desperate fool, the most dangerous creature on earth. I waited until I heard him pass out on the couch, bottle clinking against glass, drinking away his terror. I crawled to the bed. Years ago, when Cameron first started stealing, Marlo had a carpenter install a false bottom in the floorboard. She told me it was for jewelry. I knew it was for emergencies. I pushed the mattress aside, found the loose board, pried it up with a spoon handle. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, a Nokia brick phone fully charged, and beside it a .38 snub-nose revolver. I checked the cylinder. 5 rounds. But Winthrop was right. I needed justice, not blood. I turned on the phone. The screen glowed green. I typed a message to Winthrop's number using our code. Wolf at the door. Debt is 365 large. Deadline 3 days. Need extraction. Minutes ticked like hours. Then the phone buzzed. Lawyer Solomon Paxton arrives 0900 tomorrow. He has the paperwork. Play your part. Do not break character. We are coming for you. I turned off the phone, hid it back, slid the gun under my pillow. Tomorrow the curtain would rise. The sun came up gray. The deadbolt clicked. Sienna stood there, with coffee, face plastered with a painful smile. "Good morning, Dad. We have a guest coming. You need to look presentable." She handed me the mug, world's best grandpa. The irony tasted bitter. Cameron appeared, fresh suit, tie too tight. He grabbed my arm to steady me. "Easy there, old-timer. Let's get you to the living room. Mr. Paxton is here." They walked me down the hall like fragile china. I leaned on my cane, shuffling, playing the confused invalid perfectly. In the living room sat a man in a charcoal suit that cost more than my first house, Solomon Paxton, black marble eyes behind rimless glasses. "Mr. Thornhill," his voice smooth as oil, "I represent your late wife's estate. Please sit." Cameron sat beside me, knee bouncing nervously. Sienna perched on the chair arm, playing devoted daughter-in-law. Picture-perfect family, except for the hidden gun upstairs and the murder plot. Paxton opened his briefcase, pulled out a thick document bound in blue paper. Mrs. Thornhill was very prudent. She set up a living trust 3 years ago. The assets total approximately $1.85 million. Cameron made a choking noise. His eyes bulged. Sienna's greedy smile flashed. According to the terms, the estate transfers to her husband, Grayson Thornhill. Cameron nodded eagerly, patting my shoulder. "That's right. Dad's the beneficiary. We're just here to help manage it." Paxton raised a hand. "There's a condition." Marlo included a competency clause. The beneficiary must be certified as being of sound mind by a medical professional before accessing any funds. Cameron froze. Paxton leaned forward. If the beneficiary is found incompetent, senile, or unable to make rational decisions, the trust automatically locks. The assets freeze for 10 years. During that time, no one, not even family or guardians, can access the principal. 10 years. Blood drained from Cameron's face. He didn't have 10 days. He had Marco and baseball bats waiting. Sienna, not understanding the timeline, sighed dramatically. Oh, Mr. Paxton, that's such a shame. We've been so worried about Grayson. He's been forgetting things. He talks to people who aren't there. I don't think he can pass a competency test. Maybe we just accept the trust needs to be frozen. Paxton started closing the folder. I see. I'll file the paperwork to lock the assets immediately. We can revisit in a decade. The lock clicked shut. Cameron jumped up, knocking Sienna sideways. No. Shut up, Sienna. He turned to Paxton, hands waving frantically. She's exaggerating. Dad's fine. He's just grieving. Look at him. He's sharp as a tack. He remembers everything. Don't you, Dad? He grabbed my shoulder, fingers digging hard. Tell him, Dad. Tell him you're fine. I looked at my son, saw the sweat on his temple, the terror in his eyes. He was begging me to be sane so he could rob me. I looked at Paxton, blinked slowly. I feel fine. I just miss my Marlowe. Paxton considered, tapping his fingers. Very well. If you insist he's competent, we can proceed. But I need proof. I've scheduled a comprehensive medical evaluation for tomorrow morning at 9. Independent physician. If Mr. Thornhill passes, he gets the checkbook. If he fails, the vault locks for 10 years. Cameron exhaled like a sob. Yes, we understand. Dad will be there. He'll pass, I promise. Paxton stood, buttoned his jacket. Good day, gentlemen. He walked out. Silence hung heavy. Cameron turned to me. Panic gone, replaced by cold resolve. He smiled, the wolf looking at the lamb. You're going to be the healthiest man in the world tomorrow, Dad, he whispered. I'm going to make sure of it. Night fell. The air grew thick with the smell of roasting meat. For the first time in 10 years, Sienna was cooking, pot roast and potatoes, a performance staged for an audience of one. Cameron sat at the kitchen table, drumming fingers, leg bouncing, watching me like a hawk. I sat with my hands on my cane, looking frail. Sienna hummed, wearing an apron, playing dutiful daughter-in-law. Dinner's almost ready, Dad. We need you strong for tomorrow. I shifted in my chair, angling toward the dark window. It had turned into a mirror, reflecting the kitchen behind me. I didn't look at Sienna directly. I looked at her ghost in the glass. She reached into her apron pocket, pulled out a small white paper packet. She glanced over her shoulder at me. I let my jaw hang slack, staring blankly. She turned back, satisfied I was mentally gone. In the reflection, I watched her tear the packet open. Tip white powder into the bowl of soup set aside for me. Stir vigorously. 1 stir, 2, 3, mixing death into dinner. She picked up the bowl and turned around, face composed into maternal care. Here we go, Dad. Eat up while it's hot. The gravy will do you good. I looked down at the brown liquid. It smelled savory, salty, and lethal. Cameron watched me intently, eyes locked on the spoon in my hand. Eat, Dad. You need the nutrition. I lifted the spoon. My hand trembled. I let the tremor grow worse, shaking until it rattled against the bowl. I lifted a spoonful toward my mouth. Cameron leaned forward, holding his breath. Sienna waited. I brought the spoon to my lips, then let a violent spasm take over. I jerked sideways. The spoon hit the bowl hard. Oops, I whispered. I swept my arm across the table. The bowl flew off and shattered on the floor. Soup splashed everywhere, coating cabinets, chair legs, my shoes. Oh no, I'm so clumsy. I'm so sorry, Sienna shrieked, jumping back. You stupid old man. Look what you did. Cameron stood, face red. It's okay. It was an accident, Sienna. Clean it up. We'll get him another bowl. But before she could move, A low growling came from under the table. Duchess, Sienna's prize English bulldog. The dog waddled out, attracted by the meat smell. "Duchess, no!" Sienna shouted, reaching for the collar. But the dog was fast. She lunged for the gravy puddle, lapping it up with greedy, enthusiastic noises. She licked the floor tiles clean, ingesting the soup, the powder, everything in seconds. "Get away from there!" Sienna screamed, kicking at the dog. Too late. The bowl was clean. For a moment, nothing happened. Duchess looked up, licking her chops, wagging her stub tail. Then she sneezed. It started as a sneeze, then a cough, then a high-pitched wheeze. The dog's legs stiffened. She fell onto her side, kicking the air like running in a dream. Foam, white and pink, bubbled from her jowls. Her eyes rolled back, showing whites. Sienna dropped to her knees, screaming the dog's name. She tried to hold the animal, but Duchess thrashed violently, claws scratching linoleum. 1 minute. The thrashing slowed. 2 minutes. The wheezing turned to gurgling. 3 minutes. The dog went rigid, arched her back one last time, then went limp. Silence, heavy and absolute. Duchess lay dead on the kitchen floor, tongue lolling out among broken bowl shards. I looked at the dead animal, then up at my son. "What happened to the dog, Cameron?" My voice trembled with real fear. "Why did she die?" Cameron stared at the dog, face draining of color until he looked corpse-like. He looked at the empty packet peeking from Sienna's apron pocket, then back at the dead animal. He swallowed hard. "She had a cold. She was sick. Just a seizure, Dad. Just a cold." He lied. I knew he lied. And looking into his terrified eyes, I knew he knew that I knew. That soup wasn't meant to help me sleep. It was meant to stop my heart. The sun rose gray and sickly. Cameron banged on my door at 7 sharp, voiced tight with forced cheerfulness. "Get dressed, Dad. We have that appointment." I moved the dresser slowly, making old man struggling noises. I opened the door. He looked worse than me. Bloodshot eyes, smelled of mints covering whiskey. He ushered me to his car, a leased luxury sedan 2 months behind on payments. I sat clutching my cane, watching familiar streets fade away. I expected us to turn toward the city center, toward the hospital district, but Cameron turned left, toward the industrial park, toward broken streetlights and boarded-up storefronts. "Where are we going, son?" "The hospital's the other way." Cameron gripped the wheel until leather creaked. "A specialist, Dad. Private practitioner. He's the best. He'll get you that certificate in no time." I looked out at graffiti-stained walls and trash piles. A specialist? Sure. We pulled up to a condemned-looking brick building. No sign. Just a metal door with peeling green paint. Cameron hurried me inside. The waiting room smelled of mildew and stale cigarettes. No magazines, no receptionist. Just a flickering fluorescent light buzzing like a dying fly. A door opened. A man stepped out in a stained white coat. Short, balding, sweating profusely. I recognized him from Cross's photos. Doc Miller, disgraced veterinarian who lost his license selling ketamine, Cameron's poker buddy. "Ah, Mr. Thornhill, please come in. We have everything ready." I shuffled into the filthy examination room. The exam table had a sheet that looked unchanged in weeks. No diplomas on the wall. Just an auto parts calendar. "Sit down." Cameron blocked the door, arms crossed. I sat, paper crinkling. Miller moved to a metal tray, a syringe already filled with clear liquid. Too large a dose for any vitamin shot. Too large for anything meant to heal. "What's that?" I asked, eyes wide with feigned fear. "Just a vitamin cocktail. It'll perk you up. Get your blood flowing for the lawyer. Helps with memory." Cameron nodded. "Take it, Dad. It's for your own good." I looked at the needle, then at Miller. I saw tremors in his hands, saw him lick his lips. He was terrified, not a killer, a desperate man doing a favor, but a needle in the arm is just as deadly as a bullet. That liquid wasn't vitamins. It was likely adrenaline and digitalis, enough to simulate a heart attack in an old man with high blood pressure. The backup plan, since the dog ate the soup, inject the poison directly. Miller approached, needle raised. "Roll up your sleeve, Mr. Thornhill." I slowly began unbuttoning my cuff, agonizingly slow. Miller shifted impatiently. Come on. I pulled my sleeve up, exposing thin inner arm skin. Miller leaned in, smelled of fear and antiseptic. He grabbed my arm to steady it. I let him find the vein, let the needle tip hover millimeters from my skin. Then I moved, not with violence, with intimacy. I leaned forward until my face was inches from his ear, gripped his wrist. Not the grip of a frail old man, the grip of a man who moved crates for 40 years. Miller froze, eyes widening. "Doc," I whispered, voice low and steady, devoid of senile tremor. "Before you push that plunger, you should know something. I sent a GPS pin to my fishing buddy 20 minutes ago. He gets worried when I go to bad neighborhoods." Miller frowned, confused. "Your fishing buddy?" "Yes," I said, tightening my grip until his bones ground together. "His name is Sheriff Patterson. He's on his way here right now, and he's bringing the drug dogs." Color drained from Miller's face. The needle slipped from his fingers, clattered onto the tray. He jerked back, breaking my hold, stumbling into a cabinet of glass jars. "Sheriff?" he squeaked. "You called the sheriff?" He turned to Cameron, eyes bulging. "You said he was senile. You said he didn't know what day it was. He knows the sheriff, Cameron. You brought a man who's friends with cops to my clinic. Are you trying to get me killed?" Cameron's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "He's lying. He doesn't know how to use a smartphone. I took it." I smiled, cold and hard. "I have more than one phone, son." Miller grabbed Cameron by the lapels, shoved him toward the door. "Get out. Get him out of here right now. I'm not going to jail for you. Take your dad and your debts and get out before cops show up." He opened the back door, practically threw us into the alley. "Get out," he yelled, slamming the door. Lock thunking. We stood in the garbage-strewn alley, distant sirens playing tricks on Cameron's mind. He looked at me. For the first time, he saw something other than a victim. He saw a threat. He grabbed my arm, fingers digging bruisingly, dragged me to the car, threw me in the passenger seat, slammed the door. He got in, hitting the steering wheel with his fists. Once, twice, 3 times, screamed wordlessly. Then turned to me, face twisted, eyes burning with bottomless hate. "Fine," he hissed, starting the engine, peeling out. "You want to play games, old man? You want to be difficult? We tried the easy way. We tried to be nice. But you leave me no choice. Tonight, you sign those papers. I don't care if I have to break every finger on your hand. We're doing this the hard way." The sun went down, but heat stayed trapped inside like fever. Cameron sat in my armchair with a 12-gauge shotgun on his lap, cleaning it with an oily rag. Slow, deliberate strokes. The only sound, a rhythmic whisper of violence. He'd stopped pretending. What was left was a man pushed into a corner who saw no way out but through me. His cell phone rang. He answered on speaker. "Marco," he said, voice cracking. "Please, I just need a few more hours." The voice was calm and terrifying. "Cameron, you're out of hours. My associates are on their way. If the money's not in the account by 9 a.m., they start with your knees. Do you understand?" The line went dead. Cameron took a long pull from the bourbon bottle. His eyes were red-rimmed, wild. He stood up, shotgun in hand, looked down the hall, right at my door. I heard his footsteps, heavy, uneven. He was coming. The door burst open, slamming against the wall. Cameron stood silhouetted by hall light. In one hand, the shotgun pointed at my chest. In the other, the power of attorney form. "Sign it," he rasped. "Sign it now, or I'll paint this room with your brains." I stared down the barrel. Did not blink. My heart beat slow and steady. The rhythm of a man who made peace with death long ago. Cameron was shaking, body vibrating with bourbon and terror. "Sign it! Just sign and I'll let you live." I leaned back. Did not reach for the pen. "Why did you kill your stepmother, Cameron?" He flinched. The shotgun dipped, then snapped back up. "Shut up. I know about the pills. I know you switched them. Why?" He let out a sound half laugh, half sob, started pacing. "You want to know why? I was 9 when you left, Dad. 9 years old watching you pack. Mom said you loved Marlo more than us, and you proved her right every single day. You built her a life. What about me? Weekend visits and guilt money." He pointed the gun at my face, expression twisted. "Then Marlo gets rich while I'm drowning? The IRS is taking my house. She was sitting on millions, and she watched me struggle. She knew I was in debt. She knew I was scared. And what did she do? Lectured me. Told me she was cutting me off." He took another swig. "I didn't want to hurt her. I just needed the money. It was easy. She was old. Her heart was weak. I switched the beta blockers for stimulants. I crushed them, mixed them with her pills. 3 days I watched her decline. She reached for the phone. I unplugged it. She called my name. I didn't answer." His voice turned cold. "It's her fault she was weak. It's her fault she was stingy. She forced my hand. It was her money. She owed me." I listened to every word. He was blaming the victim, a coward who thought the world owed him a living. He threw the paper on the bed. "Sign it or I'll pull this trigger and tell police it was suicide." I looked at the paper, picked up the pen. I sat up slowly. Cameron stepped back, gun leveled. I did not sign my name. I pressed the pen hard enough to tear paper, wrote in big block letters, "I know what you did." I held it up so he could see. Cameron read the words. His lips moved silently. He froze. Triumph vanished, replaced by horror. He saw the soldier in my eyes, realized I wasn't senile, realized he'd confessed to a sane man. He roared, raised the shotgun, aiming at my head. Finger tightened on the trigger. Then the world exploded. Deafening crash from the front. Wood splintering. "Police! Drop the weapon! We have the house surrounded!" Blinding white light cut through darkness. Cameron spun around, wild-eyed. He hooked his arm around my neck, jammed the shotgun against my temple. "Back off. I'll kill him." He dragged me toward the living room, using me as shield. From the back, Sienna's scream. Winthrop's voice. "Going somewhere, Mrs. Thornhill?" She was caught. No way out. Cameron's grip tightened. "I want a car or the old man dies." We stepped into blinding light. Glare hit him full in the face. He blinked, grip loosening. That was my opening. I dropped my weight, drove my elbow back into his solar plexus, felt air leave his lungs. He doubled over. I spun, grabbed the barrel, twisted his wrist with violent torque. Sharp snap. His finger broke. He screamed. I ripped the weapon away, swept his legs out. He hit the floor hard. I stood over him, shotgun in my hands, pumped the action, leveled the barrel at his forehead. My finger tightened on the trigger. "Mr. Thornhill, don't shoot. Drop the weapon." Men in tactical gear swarmed in. I looked at Cameron one last time, then slowly lowered the shotgun, raised my hands. They took him away in handcuffs. The trial was swift. The recording played in court, his voice admitting everything. Sienna testified against him to save herself. The exhumation proved it. Toxicology showed lethal doses. The medical examiner ruled homicide. Cameron Thornhill, life without parole. Sienna, 15 years. I visited him once in prison. He'd lost 20 pounds, eyes hollow. He picked up the receiver. "Dad, you came. I came to give you something." I pressed Marlo's will against the glass. "Read it." "To my stepson, Cameron Thornhill, I leave the sum of $1. He started crying. "Dad, please, I'm sorry." I watched him cry, felt nothing. I pulled out a $1 bill, slid it through the slot. Here's your inheritance, son. I hung up, walked out into cool night air. I was alone, but I was free. 1 year later, I stood on a riverboat on the Seine, Paris, the city Marlowe dreamed of. I wore a bespoke suit, Italian shoes, polished cane. The Marlowe Thornhill Foundation had saved 47 seniors in its first year. Every victory was a tribute to her. Alistair Winthrop raised his glass. Ready, Grayson? I pulled out a velvet pouch containing Marlowe's ashes, walked to the railing, opened it. Gray dust caught the wind, swirling in golden light before settling on the river. It drifted away toward the sea. Go see the world, my love. You earned it. Dad? I spun around. Harper, 42, wearing a black coat. Marlowe's eyes, my jaw. How did you know I was here? Tears streaming. Mr. Winthrop sent me Mom's journal. I read every word, every time Cameron lied, and I believed him. Cameron told me you spent my college fund on a kitchen remodel. I didn't know Marlowe paid my tuition from her savings. I'm so sorry I shut you out. I dropped my cane, pulled her into my arms. You have nothing to apologize for. Cameron lied. Marlowe wrote, Forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about choosing love over bitterness. I choose love, Harper. I choose you. She hugged me tighter. Will you help me let her see Paris now? I'd be honored. Together, we released the last ashes. She's free now, Harper whispered. We're all free now. Winthrop brought wine. To Marlowe. To Marlowe. I looked at the stars appearing over the city of lights. I thought of Cameron in his cell, then let it go. I looked at Harper, my daughter. She'd come back. A second chance. I smiled, not the grim smile of a soldier, not the sad smile of a widower, the smile of a man who walked through fire with his soul intact. We're free, Marlowe, I whispered. We're finally free. Harper took my hand. Come on, Dad. Let's see the Eiffel Tower. Together. For the first time in a year, I felt hope. This journey taught me that sharing blood doesn't mean you share a heart. True family is built through loyalty and respect. I found more love in a daughter I'd lost than in the son beside me. Never set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Sometimes the ultimate act of self-respect is cutting toxic roots to let light back in. And sometimes, the ultimate act of grace is forgiving those who come back when they finally see the truth.